The Beastie Boys are a legendary American hip-hop group that crashed into the mainstream in the mid-80s with their brash and hedonistic style, leaving an indelible mark on the music industry. Comprising the trio of Adam Yauch, MCA, Adam Horovitz, Ad Rock, and Mike Diamond, Mike D, they brought a unique blend of hard rock and rap that resonated with hip-hop enthusiasts and suburban metalheads alike. All three members of the Beastie Boys hailed from middle-class Jewish families in New York City and found their musical roots in the city's vibrant punk underground during their teenage years in the early 80s. Mike Diamond and Adam Yauch formed the Beastie Boys in 1981, initially including drummer Kate Schellenbach and guitarist John Berry. Their early foray into music began with the release of the 7th EP Pollywog Stew on the indie label Rat Cage in 1982, which garnered limited attention. In 1983, significant changes reshaped the group. Schellenbach and Berry left the band, and Adam Horovitz, who had previously formed the hardcore group The Young and the Useless, joined the fold. With this new lineup, the Beastie Boys released the rap record Cookie Puss as a 12 single later in 1983. This single, inspired by a prank phone call made to Carvel Ice Cream, gained popularity in New York's underground scene, setting the stage for their transformation from punk to rap. In 1984, the Beastie Boys joined forces with producer Rick Rubin, a passionate fan of heavy metal and hip-hop who had recently co-founded Def Jam Records with Russell Simmons. This partnership marked a turning point for the group. The collaboration with Rubin led to the release of She's On It in 1985, a track featured on the soundtrack to Crush Groove. The song, with its fusion of rap and rock, hinted at the forthcoming debut album's direction. In the same year, the Beastie Boys opened for Madonna on her Virgin Tour.
Opening for Madonna's 1985 Virgin Tour.
She heard our records and she said, I want the Beastie Boys to come on tour with me.
She loves me.
A decision that initially received mixed reactions. Their raucous performance, filled with profanity and provocative antics, garnered both attention and controversy.
Detroit, they threw cans and stuff at us.
Yeah.
San Francisco, they hit me in the head with a balled-up sweatshirt.
Another significant tour followed when they opened for Run DMC's Raise in Hell tour. All of this paved the way for the release of License to Ill in late 1986. License to Ill was an amalgamation of street beats, metal riffs, b-boy humor, and satire. While critics often dismissed it as a mindless, obnoxious party record, the album shattered records, becoming the fastest-selling debut in Columbia Records history, selling over 750,000 copies in its first 6 weeks. The standout track, Fight for Your Right to Party, catapulted the Beastie Boys into mainstream consciousness, solidifying their status as crossover artists. However, their newfound success also sparked criticism from certain hip-hop purists who viewed the Beastie Boys as cultural appropriators.
Some say the Beastie Boys are making a mockery of
I feel they
groups
are
like yourselves that have...
Look, I'm not mad at the Beastie Boys. I respect them. Look, I respect them. They sold albums. They know what to make because they made it. I have no problem with that. More power to you. I wish you much success. But I wish they wouldn't run around the country and make it hard for us. You know what I'm saying? I wish they'd learn how to act.
Simultaneously, they faced backlash from various quarters, both for the explicit content of their lyrics and their provocative stage performances, which included go-go cages and inflatable props. The controversy surrounding their concerts often led to arrests and lawsuits, as they were accused of inciting crime. By the end of 1987, the Beastie Boys' exaggeratedly obnoxious persona had become somewhat of a self-parody, prompting the group to re-evaluate their sound and image. In 1988, they found themselves entangled in a bitter lawsuit with Def Jam and Rick Rubin, who claimed credit for their success.
Difficult times in terms of their transition from Def Jam to Capitol, because we heard rumors as fans about big checks for Beastie Boys on the back of License to Ill, and then we heard stories about how records weren't being promoted. And what's the truth about the Capitol Records time?
To escape this predicament, the Beastie Boys moved to California and signed with Capitol Records. It was during their California sojourn that they crossed paths with the Dust Brothers, a production team that would significantly impact their musical trajectory. The Dust Brothers persuaded the Beastie Boys to use their prospective debut album as the foundation for their second release, Paul's Boutique, released in 1989. Paul's Boutique marked a seismic shift in the Beastie Boys' sound. Densely layered with interweaving samples and pop culture references, the album ventured into retro funk psychedelia, a stark departure from the brash party anthems of License to Ill. While some critics lauded the album, it failed to produce a single as commercially successful as Fight for Your Right to Party. However, Paul's Boutique had a lasting impact in a different way. Its innovative use of sampling and layering laid the groundwork for future generations of hip-hop producers.
The cool thing about that record is it showed there was so much depth to the Beastie Boys after License to Ill. It was such a departure from that previous record, and there was so much experimentation, so much like sampling. It just showed there's so much to this band.
The album became revered by hip-hop aficionados and pointed the way to the genre-bending, self-referential pop culture of the 90s. The 90s saw the Beastie Boys undergo a transformation that mirrored the evolving music landscape of the decade. In 1992, they released Check Your Head, a fusion of punk, rap, and jazz that marked a significant departure from their previous work. The album not only earned them another top 10 placement, but also established the group as icons in the alternative rock scene. Ill Communication, released in 1994, further consolidated their comeback. The hit single, Sabotage, accompanied by a campily retro video directed by Spike Jonze, showcased their enduring creativity. Music videos played a vital role in their popularity, with Adam Yauch often directing under his pseudonym Nathaniel Hornblower. Beyond music, the Beastie Boys made significant contributions to activism, with Adam Yauch co-organizing the Tibetan Freedom Concerts in the late 90s. Their engagement with social issues demonstrated their commitment to effecting positive change beyond the realm of music. As the 2000s unfolded, the Beastie Boys' productivity waned, reflecting their transition into an eccentric middle age. They released To the Five Boroughs in 2004, which paid homage to their hometown of New York City. In 2007, they surprised fans with The Mix-Up, a soul jazz instrumental album that showcased their versatility and musicianship. Tragedy struck when Adam Yauch was diagnosed with cancer while the group worked on their 8th studio album. Despite this setback, they managed to finish and release Hot Sauce Committee Part 2 in May 2011. However, Yauch's untimely passing in 2012 marked the end of an era for the Beastie Boys. Although Adam Yauch's death marked the end of the Beastie Boys as an active musical group, their legacy endures. In 2018, Adam Horovitz and Mike Diamond reconvened to tell their story through Beastie Boys' book, offering fans an intimate look into their journey